Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining Sandra P. is Gen Extra. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for joining Sandra P. is Gen Extra. I appreciate everyone that is coming in. That looks small. I'm not trying to, let me see. I don't want to do anything to change it. I'll present. And everyone, welcome in. And this is copied by, I have my banner running, Copyright Act of 1976, Section 107. I appreciate it. This is actually extra. This was based on the finale, the season finale for Real Housewives of Atlanta. We should review tonight Dropping Extra Sassy Tea Talk. So come back around 7:30, 7:45 to any of the four ladies channels. Tea Talk with your girl, Sassy TV from the 803, Drop the Tea, and me, Sandra P's Gen Extra. And we'll get into a little more of the episode. And it was the season finale. It was kind of meh until probably the last 20 minutes or so when they get to the last event. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the news, not in the news, but just let's say surrounding the show. So honestly, I haven't looked into all of it. I'm just going based on what I think, what people's past modus operandi is, and just what I think people would have a motive to do. So I'm speaking in code because the whole thing is kind of confusing. Good morning, Sharon Gobble. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra. I appreciate you. I was just talking about the fact that this is just an extra based on season Sweet 16 of Real Housewives of Atlanta, the latest episode, which is the finale, right before the reunion. I think they got a 3-part reunion. I'm not sure. But as we know, on the final scene, we have Angela standing up and kind of confronting almost everybody about her husband, Charles Oakley, bringing in Marcus. Now we've had Marcus. We have his friend Alex over there with a long speech, a long written paragraph that he's saying. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to even get through Alex's. So I'll just give my quick impression. What my impression is, I think that the final scene of that show, and we'll talk about it more tonight with the ladies on Dropping Extra Sassy Tea Talk. I thought that Angela was a little cringe, just the way she was engaging with Charles. The fact that we know how much Charles Oakley despises, in my opinion, being on camera and being just thrown into the mix and left out of stuff. So the fact that she had planned this with Marcus, Drew knew about it, and she brought this guy in to the event. Charles Oakley didn't know. That fact, that was a little cringe to me because I knew how it was going to go. We already know Charles does not budge an inch. He doesn't show Angela any type of I won't say affection, because I think that the way they engage, I guess that's affection for him. I don't know. He doesn't move at all based on servicing. Okay. He doesn't move at all based on what Angela is going to do. And I'm sorry, I'm having trouble getting my words out. The whole thing was just so strange, because for her to go all season and him not be willing to fake the funk for the cameras, and her to think that he's going to be at this big event, their event, an event for feeding people, and that he's supposed to go along with her, and he doesn't know where she was going with this. And then her yelling, "Trust me." That whole thing was so crazy to me, y'all. And I'll just say this. Marcus, I felt, was cringe. I would not have brought him back in there. I was 100% with Charles. When he saw that man and told him to get his MFA out of there, I agreed with him. I wanted him to get out of there because that was crazy. They have a 3-part reunion. Sharon's confirming. Okay. And now I don't know. I think that the other guy, Alex, I'm not sure if he and Marcus are married, what the deal is, because the other guy that's now speaking out with some type of connection to it, he's saying his mother-in-law lives in Athens. So that whole thing is crazy. I feel like, in my opinion, I just think that people are saying either it's Phaedra or it's Angela. I'd like to add a third suspect. I think production could be involved as well. I'm still on the spectrum. I feel that Phaedra is more likely to have been involved in this than Angela, in my opinion. Because with the season that Angela had, I think her second season as a peach holder was already assured. I don't think that she needed to do anything crazy or out of the box to be able to come back. I think the only one probably that's not coming back is Britt Eady, and that's by choice. And I started out to see, excuse me. Excuse me. I have cranberry juice instead of water. I'm going to have to switch to water. Let me try to pause. I apologize for that. I started out with cranberry juice instead of water. I really feel like the water helps me clears my throat and everything. Then let me get my thoughts back together. I'll start with a comment from Sharon. Angela should have told Charge what was going on. She knows how he is. That was my thing. I was like, oh, this could have gone so much better. Now that standing up and prancing and all that to be acting, to me, it just left me where I want to side with Angela, but where she's coming from now, I just don't know. Now, a lot of people are thinking that she set it up, her and Drew set something up. I don't think so. I think if anybody set anything up, it would be Phaedra and it would be production. And I don't buy that Phaedra would not do something like that because she just got back. If something is in a person, that's what they're going to do. Anybody can turn over a new leaf, yes. But I think if they feel threatened, they're going to revert to type. And I think it's more likely than not that Phaedra would be the one involved. Welcome, Sound Checking That. Thank you so much for coming in. She's saying good morning to Sharon Gobble. Good morning to myself. Thank you for coming in. So we're going to just have to hash this out because it's really divided. I've heard equal amounts of people believe that it's Phaedra. A lot of people now believe that it's Angela. I've added a third suspect, which is production. So the whole thing is crazy. Kelly kicking up her little legs, hollering. Some people, I've heard her name floated. So people were saying Britt. Britt kind of absolved herself at the event when she was saying she wasn't even invited to Kelly's event. How could she get somebody else on the list? I want to go back to Britt and this reunion. Britt, even though I didn't like her from the beginning, I don't care for her now. I don't feel that she was ever worthy of a peach. At best, she should have been a tryout. At best. All of the ladies, honestly, even Shamia, who'd been there over a decade. And my feelings for Shamia have changed throughout the season. I still want to like Shamia, but what Shamia is showing me is not, I don't like what Shamia is doing at all. But with Britt, I feel like she quit that night when her and Mike she was saying, I don't need to deal with these low lives, and was taking off her microphones and everything. She quit and didn't plan to go to the reunion. And we know now did not go to the reunion. But the way that the fans are fickle, they change. We go back and forth. I've had people that were favorites, kind of Shamia, and then you change where you see more of them and don't like them as much. That's how I felt. Kelly, I started out really not liking the way she came in and was so hot and heavy against Portia because I felt like it wasn't Kelly's place to ask Portia those questions, even though the audience wanted to know. I feel that if Britt, the last few episodes, the way things went and the way she was able to kind of go back and forth with certain people, even though I still don't think she knows how to read. I think she goes too low, too fast. But she was kind of getting her feet under her and learning. And I think she's putting a lot of stuff online now. Then like, you could have went to the reunion and said that. People would have listened to what you're saying. Andy wanted to hear what she had to say. Andy, to me, never really wanted to punish her. They like that messiness and that low down in the garbage gutter stuff. So I don't know. Sharon is giving a theory. I'm leaning more towards production. I just don't believe Phaedra did that. What would she have to gain? Yeah, I could. That's the other thing I'm hearing people saying. What does she have to gain? But for me, the only reason why I think that it's more likely Phaedra than Angela, even though I blame the third party more, which is production. The only thing I think Phaedra would have to gain is that I know she probably knew that she wasn't really bringing anything. We did get the event, but that was Mr. President's event. That was the Sun's event. And the Sun don't have peaches. They're under no obligation to share their life. Of course, they're part of Phaedra's life, so she's going to have her kids on there. She doesn't have to do that, but I appreciate when she does that. But we still haven't seen really anything from Phaedra this season. And then part of that is Bravo. They brought her in, what was it, episode 13 or so, right before the Grenada trip so that they could invite her and it wouldn't be too awkward. But she came in, not even the third of the season, in the fourth quarter, the fourth part of the season. So I don't know what they expected her to be able to come in there and do. And production, I think, was trying to save the season, have it go out with the bang. I really hate that they're doing that to this show because whether you love or like any of the ladies, every single one of them, I think, except for maybe Britt, I'm not even sure about Britt. Every one of them have enough going on where they don't have to manufacture anything fake, anything, try to put some little fake script out there. We can watch scripted television for that. I don't like when reality TV does too much as far as that. That is crazy. Sound check, Annette. I'm going with Angela. Have you listened to her interview with Carlos? No, I cannot stand TK's voice. His voice triggers me. I don't like him. And what I have is listened to people that have listened to it, and then, but then that's not the best way to get information because things are left out. But no, I'm not going to listen to him. I don't like Carlos. I just don't. Now I'll tell you what, the people that do think it's Angela, her sitting down with him, he could probably the worst person that she could sit down with because I think that he is so strange, in my opinion. He has this weird thing toward Bravo. He claimed he didn't get fired. I think he's desperate to be back over there or at least be in their good graces. But at the same time, he's also resentful of them and a lot of the people that still have a relationship with them and work there. So he's probably the worst person that she could have sat down with just because of his reputation. He's been willing to lie. He's been willing to gang up on people. He's been willing to turn on one person. He's always willing to get down in the gutter, dig a hole, keep digging. Carlos is probably the last person I would expect any good information from. So for Angela to be over there, even though I'm inclined to not believe she had anything to do with it, the fact that she sat down with him makes me a little more suspicious of her than I would be. But then Phaedra going over to Jason on Hollywood Unlocked, I don't know how Jason Lee escapes scrutiny. I think he's a horrible person. I don't care for him at all. His platform, sometimes he does get good interviews, but the questions that he asks and the way that he asks questions, I feel like he inserts himself too much. And I don't believe a lot of what he says either. To me, him and Carlos King are kind of cut out the same cloth. He just hasn't been as out there as Carlos King, in my opinion, as far as Carlos he's blatant. When he hates someone or he's trying to frame someone, he is blatant about what he's doing. And he thinks he's slick, all that loud cackling. You can see Carlos coming. You really can. CC is saying another one of the theories. I think this mess was set up by Angela with Drew's help. Angela sitting down with CK puts my antennas up because he hates Phaedra. Yeah, that's the other thing. It just makes her look more guilty. I'd be inclined to believe that she didn't do it, but you sit down with Carlos and now I don't know what to believe. Drew, I think Drew has enough of a storyline, but production, for some reason, they don't like Drew. And there's a lot going on in Drew's life that she could show, but they won't show. They show Drew walk to the mailbox. Then I did play her song. They played the Lulu. But they show her walking to the mailbox, that kind of stuff. And Drew had a lot going on. She had the release of her music. Now this divorce with Ralph, I'm questioning this divorce with Ralph. We get a scene with old brickhead Ralph asking to come upstairs, playing the piano. How did we get here? It just seemed fake to me. That seemed fake to me. And the way he treated Drew on TV, I never doubted that they were going through a divorce or anything like that because you'd have to be nuts to put something like that on TV and have it be just a storyline. But after that, and then also when they were in social media with him feeding her steak or whatever on Mother's Day. That was a little too much as well. So now I'm questioning her. People say she's a liar. I don't know what she's lying about, but if this whole thing is a storyline, then yeah, that would be a pretty significant lie. The whole thing is crazy. Let me go back and get some more comments and welcome more people into the room. Oh, Soundcheck Connect said, I don't like him either, but it smells like something he would do. Yeah, it does. Jason Lee is horrible. Now he's in politics. CC, how did that man win a city council seat over there in Stockton, California? I saw that and I said, oh my goodness. Sometimes name recognition, it doesn't matter what the recognition is for. You can win a seat. Yeah, I don't know, wouldn't he even have time to do that job. Over here gossiping all the time. TNTG Mom, hello. She came in and spoke to everybody. I appreciate that, TNTG Mom. Hello, everyone's greeting TNTG Mom back. Yeah, the whole thing is crazy. Portia said Drew's divorce doesn't seem real. I never thought that until this couple of things happening in social media, and then actually that scene that now it's questionable to me. I did see real emotion from Drew that day. Now the court proceedings, those court papers and everything are real, but that's crazy to go that far for a storyline. Because when I saw real emotion from Drew was when Ralph had that pit bull attorney. Drew had her terrible attorney. They were coming out of the court, and Ralph was doing some kind of shuffle along and skipping and being really ignorant. And Drew yelled at him out the window. You're a butthole for that. Drew had real emotion for once, because sometimes she just seems over it or that she's acting. So that I don't know what to think about Drew now, y'all. Is she coming back? Because she wasn't even on Watch What Happens Live until people that watched the show was like, everyone has been on there once, some of them even twice. How come Drew hasn't been on there? And then close to the end of the season for Watch What Happened Live, well, they don't really have a season. He brought Drew on after everybody else, and some of them had even been on there twice. So I don't know if Andy doesn't like Drew. And then people thought, well, Drew, maybe she'll get first or at least second chair. But we got Shamia first chair and Portia first chair. So I don't think they like Drew. Both of them are liars, Ralph and Drew. I think that's true. Both of them are liars. They suited to each other. I think Ralph thinks he's smarter than her because he's always been able to take care of things for them, even though we found out this man earning 40% of Drew's income. I could understand that. If one person is the money maker, she's bringing in the income, he's taking care of everything else. But him being in a managerial role, I think 40% is too much. Traditionally, I heard it's between 20 and 30%. So for him to have 40%, I think that's way too much. And it's risky. Going back in the day, the women that have had their husband as their manager, if he's not someone to be trusted, it's not worked well. You can go back to Aretha Franklin, to Melba Moore, and you got to be able to trust that person, and you should be able to trust your husband. But to me, Ralph's not trustworthy. I still don't know what his job is. They claim he does something in tech, which I do believe because this man was able to wire that whole house. But we'll see. Soundcheck Annette says that Cece, I don't think Drew and Ralph are going through a divorce. Yeah, I didn't know what to think at first, but now I don't think they're going through a divorce either. So this Mary J. Bot, yeah, Kendu got in Mary's pocket. She's still out there doing her little boot dance. I don't know if she still owes him money or not. He was able to get in her pocket. Sometimes he comes back for more money. Kendu, I think Mary probably would go somewhere and sit down, relax a little bit more if she didn't have all these bills and Kendu hadn't mismanaged her into what she's going through. Mary has never been the brightest, but you don't have to be the brightest. If you have your talent and you put the right team around you, you can still thrive. You know, it's not about, she doesn't have to be a great business manager, but then to put her husband in a role where he's not trustworthy because Kendu was out there in the streets. You're cheating and everything. I'm paying you 30% of it. We don't have a whole household income. The household income is me. And now I can't even trust you with our money. And then I'm still out here working when my colleagues and people that are right there with me only working because they want to. And it's kind of like, I have to do it. I feel for Mary in that way. So yeah, Drew and Ralph, we'll see what's going to happen with that. This 3-part reunion, this is going to be a mess. If you want to do any background, and I watched season 9, a bit of the reunion, especially episode season 9, the reunion part 1, also parts 3, and then some of 4, where the explosive stuff came out. Because I was just trying to get more of a read on Phaedra and who she is. And I saw some of the same, the facial expressions when she was being confronted, the fact that she could still sit with a straight face and lie. Oh, I'll tell you what triggered that. When Phaedra sat down with Jason Lee, and Jason Lee was trying to throw her a lifeline, kind of like, oh, well, Phaedra, you sat there and you took blame for something. And she was saying, I took blame for something nobody saw me do. I went back to see if I remembered it correctly. I did remember it correctly. Not only did we see Phaedra tell this lie, Portia confronted her about, Phaedra, you told me that Candy told you what she and Todd were going to do firsthand. And that's why Portia's claiming she believed it, even though she knows there's no evidence that Candy would ever have to force somebody to do something like that. Phaedra sat up there and she apologized multiple times to Portia. I don't recall she apologized to Candy. She went into Portia's dressing room and apologized. She said, Portia, I screwed up. I'm sorry. So for Jason Lee to try to throw her a lifeline and her try to rewrite history when it's still on Peacock and bravotv to be seen, that's why I can't believe Phaedra, because Phaedra will tell a bold-faced lie, be caught in the lie, stick with the lie, and die with the lie. And then she'll just sit there and make her faces. So, and that's the other reason why if I have to be which side I'm coming down on, I still would say it will be 70% toward Phaedra versus maybe 30% toward Angela. With production's help, whomever is involved, production is involved. And I hate the fact that they let this guy get on screen and get around them. And Angela, that phone call, I don't know what the heck that phone call was. This lady's on the phone with this man for 20 minutes. What are you talking to this fool about, Angela? And you don't even know him. That's what really annoyed me. The whole thing is just disgusting. Let me see Cece's comment. Angela and Drew knew everyone would believe Phaedra did this, where the newbies assigned to try and take out a vet. Britt and Kenya, Angela and Phaedra, Shamia and Kelly and Portia. It's like Real Housewives of Atlanta, Squid Games. Cece, that statement, there's a lot in it. And let me tell you, we were saying early on, the way Kelly came out, why you take that lady's husband now? And then we had Britt against Kenya. That did happen. I think that each newbie did think they were going to take down a vet. Now, Angela, Phaedra was not there. So Angela didn't really have, to me, anybody to go against. So Angela was kind of going against whoever could get it. I did see that. And it was kind of funny. Angela said on one of her confessionals that Charles was her biggest op. I don't know that Charles is her biggest op, but he certainly doesn't go out of his way to make her look good, which is why I was so annoyed with her this last episode. This man is standing in solidarity with you, which you wanted the entire season. And then you jumping up in his face, yelling, trust me, and trying to keep this fool there and give him his little screen time to tell this lie. Because I don't know if he lied on Phaedra, lying on Angela. I know Marcus is telling some lies, and I know he's glad to be on TV. Yeah, it's like Real Housewives of Atlanta, Squid Games. And it's so funny. I'm go back to season 9 because I just finished rewatching some of the reunion. Not Angela, she wasn't even there. Andy was asking Candy, so you're saying that Phaedra and Portia, that now they're close. Do you believe they have a friendship? And Candy said, I think they have an alliance. And he said, what is this, Survivor? And everybody said, yeah, it's Survivor. And Portia laughed, survival of the fittest. Portia looked really cute. She had a little short haircut. Portia's throwing out a lot of stuff. But her and Phaedra, to me, were in an alliance. And if you could see how that ended when Phaedra told that lie and Portia was back there crying and she looked stupid. And she did look stupid because she just took what Phaedra said and ran with it. I think they still have that underlying dynamic. I think the friendship is a little more real now, but to me, it is still kind of an alliance. And the newbies came in with an alliance. Absolutely. She really put Charles in jeopardy if he hit Marcus. CC, Charles was, when he told that man, you lucky. We've watched Charles play back in the day. Of course, everybody knows he's from Michael Jordan's time. They used to put hands and feet on each other a lot more, except for Jordan. They didn't really let people touch Jordan. But Charles Oakley used to be one of the ones folding people's jersey up with them in it. So, and all the ladies, I thought that was funny. They were saying the enforcer. Yeah, that's true. That's what they called him. And when she touched him and tried to make him stay, and Charles was like, "What are you doing? Don't touch him." Because if Marcus had flare back or something, Charles could have hit him. And not in Atlanta, anywhere. They love to sue. So yeah, Angela was just totally wrong. She could not be trusted in that instant. She couldn't, because she did put Charles in jeopardy if he had hit Marcus. Because and that slick talk Marcus was doing, just the way he did, even with the toast. And Angela had to go home telling Charles about it, crying or whatever, but Charles will recognize him and say, "Ain't this the guy that disrespected you?" And it was bad, because when he asked to talk to her at first and she declined, I'm going back to Williams and Sonoma, I'm sorry, y'all. She declined. Then he was giving that toast near Kelly, "If your name is Angela and your husband's cheating on you." That was disgraceful and disgusting. I'm tired of some of these people coming in here having a platform to do that. He's not a peach. He doesn't have a peach. We don't need to hear from him. I don't need to see on social media a 16-minute phone call. I don't know what Angela was saying. Oh, I'm so disappointed in her. That is not smart at all. 16 minutes on the phone with this man? That's crazy. That's just crazy to me. Oh, he was on the Knicks team. He's been a Knicks. He's been a Bull Charles, been all over the place. Yeah, back in the day, but not now. Yeah, Marcus is lucky. Yeah, and a lot of people, again, the social media age, people are not used to Gen X. Back in the day, when you'd meet people at school at 3:00, now I was never a fighter. I've had people fight me and I've defended myself, but I was never been a fighter. But these people now are used to being able to put these little slick comments online, say all kind of crazy stuff, and they don't ever think they're going to meet somebody that will punch them in their mouth. Charles is one of those people that will hem you up. And I'm so glad he didn't hit Marcus, but Angela put him in jeopardy. Good morning, Dot Willie. Hello. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Let me also shout out Team Replay. We're kind of toward the end of this little extra. We're talking about this situation that happened at the end and kind of almost a whodunit. So we've got the suspects being Phaedra, Angela, production. Kelly was thrown out there. Kelly tried to throw Britt out there. I don't know who did it. So who done it? We don't know. But I guess we'll find out more about it. We'll see if more comes up at the reunion. But yeah, Charles Oakley, I'm glad he didn't put hands on him, but Marcus is lucky that this wasn't back in the day, because he deserved to, well, Nene said, you deserve some discipline for what you did. He did. He deserves some discipline. And to show up in people's event when you know that you've acted a fool at another event, I don't care that Angela invited him. And then Drew, your friend is here. I brought him a drink. Now, let me go back to this. Now, these two were suspects, Angela and Drew. And that looks fishy, too. Would you bringing this man in here like he's welcome and giving him a drink? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hope more comes out about it. But I can tell you now, I'm not listening to any 16-minute, 20-minute phone calls or listening to CK cackle or Jason go over there and lie. I guess they'll be over there with Dustin next, putting me to sleep. I'm tired of all of them. I'm glad the season is over. I don't think the season was a total bust, though. I guess tonight, maybe the ladies and I will try and rate the season tonight. I don't think the season was a bust. I think season 16 was worthwhile. I think Bravo shot themselves in the foot with the Brit casting. And then if they were going to cast her and then keep her and get rid of the likes of a Kenya Moore for her, then at least somebody could have talked to her. When she and the roommate were taking off their mics and stuff at the end, production, who was her producer? Because I would have said, Britt, audience sentiment is kind of turning around. You need to be able to defend yourself. Come to the reunion. Why are you leaving? Somebody should have called her or something. Because I don't know. I don't like her. I don't feel like she ever belonged. But since she was there, you got to support the person. Not that you have to support the person while they're there, but don't set it up where she's going to leave and we don't even get the reunion out of her. I would have liked to see her at the reunion. Sharon Garbo said, yeah, Charles don't play. He doesn't. There were those of us, we were on the edge of our seat because we know what could have happened. But like Cece said, Angela did put Charles at risk because, yeah, Marcus was lucky. He lucked out that day. And the husband or the boyfriend or whomever that is, this other one, he got a long video out too on his social media. So that to me, these guys are over there just trying to be seen. And I'll go back to season 1 and 2. Let me not say the ones. I don't want to be offensive at all. Let me see. LGBT, the guys, the stylists, the ones that come around. Let's say the white, Miss Lawrence, Derek J, back in the day, they were there to do a job. These hangers on, like the likes of Marcus and stuff, flitting around, getting into women business. I don't care for that, y'all. I don't understand what that's about. And I don't know why any housewife would entertain this. So Angela is down bad on that one. She's one of my favorite. She's my favorite new peach, replacing Shamia as my favorite new peach. She's one of my favorite peaches, to include all of the originals and also any of the others, just from what I've seen so far. And that was a really bad mistake. I know there's no housewives class or anything like that. A lot of the ladies appear to be fans. They've been watching the show for years. Like me, I wouldn't want to go on the show. I don't have anything that I would showcase like that. So to come on the show and then just be a fan. Oh, y'all, we're going to talk about tonight. I know we've seen the last of Britt Edie, but earlier in the season, we see her getting a new car every 2 years. Happy wife, happy life. Why is this lady shopping for a private jet? Y'all, people are just crazy. Just crazy. Cece says, I like Angela, but that doesn't absolve me of critical thinking and events she's involved in. Yes, Cece, that's a good way to watch it. If you like someone, it doesn't mean that that person can do no wrong. So that's why I can't sit here and say, I know for a fact she didn't do it. I can only say I'm on a spectrum of if she's involved or Phaedra's involved, who's more likely. And for me, I still come down as Phaedra's more likely. The people that don't think Phaedra's more likely, a lot of their rationale is, she just got back. Why would she do that? Even Portia was saying, she just got here. She just went to Grenada. Why would she do that? Phaedra had eyes and ears on the street. I don't know about her being a godfather. That was a little funny. So she does have eyes and ears on the street of Atlanta. And then in the midst of an argument, even though you're claiming, I thought I liked you too. I don't know anything about it. I wouldn't do. You didn't tell us about the 2 foreclosures. Well, where did you get that from? It's not a secret. It is public information. But why are you pulling information on somebody that you claim you don't know anything about, but you kind of like? So I don't know. Sharon, I'm kind of with you on this. Sandra P, I'm tired of all of them. But I agree. The season wasn't a bust. Yeah, I don't feel like I wasted my time. Oh, Cece, is that? Okay. So maybe they knew that something explosive was going to happen. The last episode was up about 200,000 viewers. So good for them. At least I hope. I don't think they'll be canceled because we've seen Bravo get rid of some of our series for less. I don't know how many of you watched Martha's Vineyard, Summer House. That was a really good show. And they only gave them 2 seasons. They did not have time to kind of get their legs up under them. They had a great cast. They had people that really got on your nerves, but you still didn't mind watching Martha's Vineyard, Summer House. It's still over on Peacock. And it's only 2 seasons, y'all. Of course, it was us in the inkwell up there in Martha's Vineyard. And Bravo just didn't give it a chance. But 16 seasons in, I don't think they would be able to do Real Housewives of Atlanta like that. Worst case scenario is if they did it something like Miami. Like say, we need to kind of rehash this whole thing. You're going to start trying out for your peaches again. And you're going to go over here and get your feet wet again on Peacock. We're not going to broadcast it on Bravo. I can see something like that, but we'll see. Phaedra's already alluding to a season 17. So the rumors are Phaedra's smart. Can't take that from her. Rumors are that she has she negotiated a 2-year contract. So they wouldn't be able to tell her one and done. The people that are saying, well, Portia didn't bring anything. Why is she coming back? We only saw the house last shot of the finale. Doesn't matter. Andy likes Portia Williams. NBC Universal likes Portia Williams. Portia Williams will be back. Her peach was never at risk, whether she's talking about Simon or not. So I think all the ladies look up each other. I knew I would if I won a reality show. I would too, Cece, but in that moment, Phaedra should be smarter than claiming that she never knew anything and she doesn't have anything against the lady. And then you got this read right here in your pocket about 2 foreclosures, which are public record. I mean, anybody would know about the foreclosures. But from episode, when did we first see Angela in her real estate? And she was crying about it then. What's going to happen? Everything's not done. Episode 2 or 3. So early on, we already knew. Now, Phaedra wasn't there. She didn't come in until 12 or 13. So she didn't know that all the ladies already knew. So that read didn't really fall like she thought it would. But I'm interested to see. I'm still, let's see, where I end at. I think is between who set it up. And I do think it was a setup. Marcus shouldn't have ever been there, but somebody brought him there. He's on the guest list. He was mic'd. So for me, it would either be between Phaedra and Angela and production, with me being on maybe 70%, possibly Phaedra, to 30% or so Angela and production. And Drew, let's add Drew being a little minion. And Drew, I know Drew ain't acting like a lapdog after her reading Shamia for being a lapdog the whole season. You liked it too? Wasn't it good? I loved it. The people that they had on it, even the ones I didn't like, they had old crazy one, Bree, the one with the dog that brought that drunk German boyfriend in. I couldn't stand Bree, but I couldn't picture the show without her either. So that they had a really good mix of characters. I'll tell you where they messed up. If y'all go back and watch it, in season 2, there's one guy, Amir. He's good looking, if you like that type. But he would be on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy Cohen would be flirting with that man. But he was allowed to bring a guest. He brought his girlfriend in on season 2, and she started some really nasty rumors about one of the castmates, Nick, about Nick is touchy-feely toward the girls. Nick is this button-down GQ brother that they all have their frat alliances. I don't want to say his wrong because I cannot remember which one. But Nick would be dressed, y'all. Glasses, all of them were professionals, but Nick was a professional. And the girl was able to, of course, she not like us. Amir brought this girl in, and she brought up the other girls. Do you feel uncomfortable around Nick when he's drunk and you're drunk? And the ladies let this lady do that. And she should have been cussed out and cast out, because I think that's part of the reason the show didn't come back. I heard Amir and the girl, the lady, were making demands that if she don't come back, he ain't coming back, because the fan base hated her, was like, get her out of here, send her over there to the other summer house. Amir too, if you don't like it, we don't need him. Terrible. CC, the bad acting from Angela and Marcus took me out. My mouth was agape. And why was Shamia dressed like Assassin's Creed character at the charity event with the hood? I could do a hood. I think the hood is cute. Britt did a really good hood somewhere they went. But yeah, then she had like the buckles and stuff. You know, Shamia can get it wrong. Welcome in, Mama Bees. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Yeah, and it, like I said, it was Tubi acting. And when Angela was standing up, and then you, and what about you? And I think she even pointed at Kelly at one point. Angela was doing a lot. She really was. And I don't know. I'm disappointed in her for that. And then the whole thing with Charles and all. Oh, you know what? This was after Charles left. Yeah, we'll talk about that tonight. When that man said, after he hemmed up Marcus, and then Angela jumped to Marcus's defense, and Charles had to stop her from putting hands on Marcus to let him stay there. And Charles was like, I'm too old for this BS. And then took his mic off, and him and his man left. He and his friend got up out of there. Yeah, that was so funny. Parts of it were really funny. Parts of it were very cringe. And I did say it, even though I like Angela, it was cringe. But Cece says her mouth was agape. Yeah, you can't do too much, because in the end, it's supposed to be a reality TV show. We don't need you to act. We don't need you to orchestrate all these little scenarios. This is a charity event. Everybody is dressed up. Everybody's looking good for the most part. For the most part. And there was no need. Things are going to happen. You're all witty. You're all funny. You're all pretty. We're watching you already. So why would you bring in the likes of a Marcus to talk crazy? And I don't even care what he was talking about. Hash that out at some other time. That whole thing. That's another reason I think production was involved. Because why would he be there? And then given all this time, did y'all see Cynthia's post? I follow her. She wore a dress that she wore to her last confessional during the finale. She said they cut that out. So how's production cutting scenes out, and then you have time to show us some of this foolishness? I didn't mind seeing Charles put his hands in Marcus' face and Marcus shaking like a leaf, and then Charles getting up out of there. I didn't mind seeing that part. But I don't know why Marcus was given that much screen time. I don't want to see that again. I hope we get away from that. And everyone, thank you so much for coming in. I got an alert that Diddy verdict. I saw the verdict had been reached as well. They said counts 2 through 5. So are they deadlocked on number 1? And then they haven't said what it is one way or the other. So y'all, that is going to be a mess. I have a lot of emotions toward that trial. I really do. I've not even really talked about it. Some of it is so graphic and disgusting. I don't know. can you see a world where he is not convicted? If he's found not guilty and is back on the street, that's going to unleash a lot of people that feel like they can just do whatever they want. But you know what? The government has to prove their case. They're the ones put RICO and all this other stuff. I heard they try to drop some charges, but we'll see. I don't know. If he's not found not guilty, I don't know how that's going to look. If he's found guilty, there's going to be a lot of controversy on that side because he's not in it alone. It's a whole RICO involves a lot of people. And there's people higher up than him. Of course, we've seen a lot of the lower ups and lower people involved. I don't know. The whole thing is just sad. It's terrible. Oh, they deadlocked. I know. Let me see what finish up what Connect Fielder was saying first, because this was the Xtra was about. Welcome in, Connect Fielder. Thank you so much. Angela started all of that to have a storyline for next season. Okay, Connect Fielder is giving her. I said I came down 30% Angela, 70% Phaedra, just because to me that is in her wheelhouse. That's what I feel. And production is involved in any case. I really do think that. So we'll see. Dot Willie is saying, Sandra P, they are deadlocked, the last report. Yeah, there was a juror that is kind of rogue. But for me, those jurors that they call rogue, that one person, sometimes it just takes one person. Just because the other 11 feel a certain way, and I don't even know if they're deadlocked or they feel a certain way toward that he's not guilty or that he's guilty, or that, let's say, the government's proven the case or not proven the case. I don't know if that is what the sticking point is, but that one juror, when everybody starts to pressure that person and to keep asking the judge for instructions, I don't know how far they should be allowed to let that go, because sometimes you just can't change a person's mind. If they don't see the evidence the same way that the other 11 see it, I could see him being deadlocked. So we'll see. That's probably where I'll watch it, CC. I have Don Lemon on with a breaking banner saying the verdict is in. I'm going to pull that up. I'll probably watch it with him over there. Of course, Queen Sheba, I've watched a lot of her coverage. She's really measured in her coverage. I don't like the reason why I toned out early from the trial, because as we know, a lot of the stuff that was going on was very graphic in nature and abusive in nature, physically and many other different kind of ways. And it's very hard to watch. Some people in their reporting of it be so gleeful about it. Whether you liked him or not, or disliked him, it's not about him going down or taking somebody down or any of that stuff. It's tragic for everybody. Yeah, I'm going to turn on Don Lemon. Now, Don can be a trip too. Now that he's been unleashed from CNN, sometimes he can be a little extra as well, but his reporting has been measured as well. So Queen Sheba, let's see. The verdict has been reached. They're about to read the verdict. I'm going to pull this out and let us go. Let's see. Dot Willie, they couldn't change my mind. You'd be juror number 12. They say at some point you just want to get out of there and get home to your family. But yeah, I can see that. CC had to reduce my views to only 2 CCs covering it. I had a nightmare about it one night. Yeah, CC. And I'm a Queen Sheba member. I like to tune in to see her outfits and all that. Say good morning, give her a virtual hug. But I said, stay covered, because there's a lot of demons surrounding that trial. And people, we make a lot of jokes about stuff. Early on, people were joking about baby oil and all this kind of stuff. I deliberately did not put a lot of that stuff in my head, because there are a lot of demons surrounding this trial. If you're Gen X, you remember Sean Combs from back in the day. This is a different man. Now, being away from the drugs, being away from all these sex-fueled parties and stuff, maybe he's coming back to himself. I don't see that can ever happen, because there's succubus demons that are actually real. They attach themselves to people. I don't even want to talk about it. It can get ugly in the jury room. I believe so, especially if I'm one person. I have my view. I see this evidence. I've had the judge explain it. And now you, as a lay person and another fellow juror, feel like you're going to try to explain it to me and get in my face and tell me this and that. I don't know. Yeah, Dot Willie. I'm with CC. I'm with the rest of you that are more discerning in what you're watching. I'll be watching everything, sound checking that. Yeah, I limit my coverage totally of this trial. Dot Willie, they do. And that's a new thing. When people go by, they try to bump you on the elbow and touch you. Don't touch me. Like, we don't know each other. We're not going to be on a hugging basis. I have a lot of people at my job that do that. You don't really hug. No, I don't. I have to know you, because it's dangerous out here. But let's get this verdict on. We'll talk about it later because we have a drop in Extra Sassy Tea Talk. So I'm not sure if that'll be one of the hot topics. We'll see. Everybody, thank you for joining Sandra P's Gen Extra. I appreciate it. Enjoy your hump day. Have a relaxing day. I'll see you in the YouTube streets, specifically tonight between 7:30, 7:45 to dropping Extra Sassy Tea Talk. Thank you, Cece. Have a blessed day, everyone. Bye.